The morning mist clung to the mountains like a soft, gray blanket. Sarah pulled her worn cardigan tighter around her shoulders as she walked the familiar path through the pine forest. Her footsteps were quiet against the damp earth, barely disturbing the peaceful silence that surrounded her. She had always found comfort in these early morning walks. The forest felt like an old friend, welcoming her with the gentle rustle of leaves and the distant call of birds beginning their day. Here, away from the small mountain town where everyone knew everyone else's business, she could simply be herself. Sarah paused beside her favorite spot, a large boulder that overlooked the valley below. The town of Cedar Falls looked tiny from this height, its rooftops barely visible through the morning haze. She sat down carefully, pulling her knees to her chest, and breathed in the crisp mountain air. At 26, Sarah had grown used to her quiet life. She worked at the local library, lived in a small cottage her grandmother had left her, and kept mostly to herself. People in town often whispered about why such a pretty young woman stayed so isolated. But Sarah never paid much attention to their gossip. What they didn't know, what she had never told anyone, was that she could sense things others couldn't. Sometimes, late at night, she would hear howling in the distance that seemed different from ordinary wolves. Sometimes, she would catch glimpses of shadows moving through the trees that were too large, too purposeful to be normal animals. Sarah had learned long ago to trust her instincts. And right now, those instincts were telling her she wasn't alone. She turned slowly, her heart beginning to beat faster. Through the trees, she could make out a figure watching her. He was tall and broad-shouldered, standing perfectly still about 30 feet away. Even from this distance, she could feel the intensity of his gaze. "I'm sorry," she called out, her voice steadier than she felt. "I didn't realize anyone else came up here this early." The man stepped forward, moving with a fluid grace that reminded her of a predator. As he came closer, Sarah's breath caught in her throat. He was strikingly handsome, with dark hair that fell across his forehead and eyes so blue they seemed to glow in the morning light. But there was something else about him, something that made every nerve in her body come alive with awareness. "You don't need to apologize," he said, his voice deep and warm. "This is your place, isn't it? You come here every morning." Sarah felt a chill that had nothing to do with the mountain air. "How do you know that?" He stopped about 10 feet away, close enough that she could see the conflict playing across his handsome features. "My name is Marcus," he said simply, "and I've been watching over you for longer than you know." The words should have frightened her. Any rational person would have stood up and walked away quickly. But something deep inside Sarah recognized this man, as if she had been waiting for him without even realizing it. "Watching over me?" she asked, standing slowly. "Why?" Marcus ran a hand through his dark hair, looking suddenly vulnerable despite his imposing size. "Because you're my mate," he said quietly. "And I've been fighting that truth for 3 years. Sarah stared at him, her mind struggling to process his words. "Your mate? I don't understand." "I know how it sounds," Marcus said, taking a careful step closer. "But you feel it too, don't you? This connection between us. You've always been different, Sarah. You can sense things others can't because you're meant to be part of our world." "Our world." Sarah's voice was barely a whisper. Marcus's eyes seemed to darken as he looked at her. "I'm the alpha of the Cedar Falls pack, a werewolf, Sarah, and you're the woman fate chose to stand beside me." The forest around them seemed to hold its breath. Sarah could hear her own heartbeat, could smell the pine needles and morning dew, could feel the weight of Marcus's words settling over her like a heavy cloak. "That's impossible," she said. But even as the words left her lips, she knew they weren't true. Too many things suddenly made sense. The strange dreams she'd been having, the way animals seemed drawn to her, the feeling that she was waiting for something she couldn't name. "I know it's a lot," Marcus said gently. "I've wanted to tell you for so long, but I was trying to protect you. Being mated to an alpha comes with dangers. There are rival packs, territorial disputes, responsibilities that would change your entire life." Sarah looked into his eyes and saw the truth there, along with something else. Fear. This powerful man was afraid. "You've been alone all this time, carrying this burden by yourself," she said softly. Marcus nodded, his shoulders sagging slightly. "An alpha without his mate is only half of what he should be. But I thought I convinced myself that keeping you safe was more important than claiming you. Sarah took a step toward him, drawn by an instinct she was only beginning to understand. And what changed your mind? You did, he said simply. Yesterday, when you helped that injured deer near the creek, you touched it, and it healed faster than it should have. Your powers are awakening, Sarah. You need guidance, protection, training. You need your pack. She was close enough now to reach out and touch him. When she placed her hand on his chest, she felt the rapid beating of his heart beneath her palm. The contact sent warmth spreading through her entire body. I've been lonely for so long, she admitted. I never understood why I felt so empty, like I was missing something essential. Marcus covered her hand with his own, his touch gentle, despite his obvious strength. I'm sorry I waited so long. I was trying to be noble, but I was really just being a coward. Sarah looked up into his face, seeing past the alpha to the man beneath. What happens now? Now, Marcus said, his voice rough with emotion. I ask if you'll give us a chance. If you'll let me court you properly, help you understand your heritage, introduce you to your pack family. Court me. Sarah couldn't help but smile at the old-fashioned word. Marcus smiled back, and the expression transformed his entire face. I may be a werewolf, but I was raised to be a gentleman first. Sarah felt something inside her chest unfurl, like a flower opening to sunlight. For the first time in her life, she felt complete. I'd like that, she said simply. Marcus lifted their joined hands and pressed a gentle kiss to her knuckles. Then we'll take it slow, one day at a time. As they stood together in the misty morning light, Sarah realized that her quiet life was about to become something extraordinary. She was ready for the change, ready to discover who she was truly meant to be. The forest around them seemed to approve, the wind whispering through the trees like a blessing. And somewhere in the distance, a wolf howled a song of welcome, calling the alpha's mate home at last.